Of baseball between the Cape Henry Dolphins and the Saints from St. Christopher's in Richmond, Virginia. This is a VISAA Division I playoff game with the winner advancing to the regional finals on Friday. I'm Chris Souther, and I'm joined by our Cape Henry Collegiate Student Tech team consisting of Linda Yang and R.J. Weldon. The Saints enter today's game with a record of 14-8 and ranked 45th in the state of Virginia. They have scored 134 runs in their 22 games and are 6-2 on the road. The Dolphins are currently 24-4 and ranked 4th in the state. They have scored 250 runs in 28 games, and they're a perfect 16-0 at home. We'll have more to talk about, but we're rushing the game up a little bit because of the impending weather. Our umpires today are in the field, Mike and Rodney, and behind the plate is Mark. And so leading off today for the Saints will be number 23, Gardner, and he'll be playing position number 6, which is the shortstop. Number 1, Connor, will follow him playing catcher. Number 2, Knighton, will be the third batter, and he is our third baseman. So here we go. Peyton Fisk on the mound for the Dolphins. And we'll have the defensive lineup for you in a second. And the first pitch of this playoff game is outside, ball 1. Second pitch in for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gardner. That's a ball outside. Bradley Garner is a senior, and he fouls one back. So 3 balls, 2 strikes on Bradley Garner. And the payoff pitch. And that is in there for strike 3. So Fisk gets his first strikeout and first out of the game. And that brings up number 1, Joseph Connor. And Joseph is catching today, and he takes strike 1. There's ball outside. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out here in the playoff game between the Cape Henry Collegiate Dolphins and St. Christopher Saints. Two balls, 1 strike to Joseph Connor, the catcher. That ball is low and in the dirt. So 3 balls and 1 strike. And Connor draws a walk. So the Saints get their first base runner of the game on a 1-out walk. And that brings up number 2, Charlie Knighton. And Charlie is playing third base today. And Charlie takes inside, ball 1. Don't have any stats on the St. Chris team. They didn't list any of their stats on Max Prep. So we don't know what they've got going on from a plate perspective. And now, with a 2-0 count, head coach Chris Ditello is going to go out and talk to his starting pitcher, Peyton Fisk. He started out the game okay, but he's walked the last batter and he's got a 2-0 count on the third batter of this first half of the inning. Defensively, the Dolphins have Peyton Fisk pitching to Cooper Angley catching. Parker White at first base. Chris Martinez at second. There's a foul back. Shortstop is Yoon Che. Third baseman Jack Wickham. In left field, we've got Reed Downs. Center field, Andrew Hart. And in right field, Tanner Shadle. The Dolphins are the defending state champions, and there's a ball high. So 3 balls, 1 strike. I believe it's 3 balls, 2 strikes. No, scoreboard says 3-1, but and there's ball 4. So after a leadoff strikeout looking, the next 2 batters walk, and that brings up the 4-hitter, number 34. And that is Bryce Neely. So Bryce Neely is up to bat, and Neely is playing in center field today. And he takes off-speed pitch, strike 1. So the Saints have 2 runners on, 1 out. Martinez shifting over towards second, but there's nothing there. There's a ball low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fisk is a junior. He's pitched a good amount for the Dolphins. He's a left-hander. And he delivers on the outside corner for strike 2. So 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the first. Bryce Neely, the 4-hitter, up with 2 runners on, and there's a ball just high out of the strike zone for ball 1. Excuse me, ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That ball is out of the strike zone again. So another full count, and Peyton Fisk is at risk of walking 3 batters in this inning after getting the first batter striking out looking. And the runners go, and that is ball 4. So it's not like Fisk is missing badly, but he's missing enough where these pitches really are not competitive. Home plate umpire Mark has really not had too much to do. So Bradley Garner came up and struck out looking, and then Joseph Connor walked, Charlie Knighton walked, and Bryce Neely walked, and that brings up number 25, Willie Hurt. And Willie Hurt is the right fielder today, and he comes up with the bases loaded and 1 out here in the first inning. And he takes high ball 1. And Peyton Fisk hits the batter, which forces in a run, and that's going to be it. Peyton Fisk, I think, is done. So Fisk comes in and gets a strikeout looking, and then walks the next 3 batters and hits the 4th. And so St. Chris, without putting a ball in play, is up 1-0 here in this VISAA game. And that's going to bring on, looks like, New pitcher, and that's going to be Trajan Taylor. So Peyton Fisk started the game, and he's already out, and there's only one out in the first inning with one run in. So not the start the Dolphins wanted. So while Taylor warms up, we'll give you the rest of the order. So Willie Hurt is up now, and then number 10 is Henry Knighton. And Henry will be pitching today. After him is number 7, Wally Jones. And Wally will be at first base today. And then after him is number 6, Jack Dem. All right, so here we go. Henry Knighton is up, the pitcher, and he lines a ball over the third baseman's head, and that's going to go all the way to the corner. That's going to score at least 1, 2, and here comes the third run, and St. Chris is in with a 4-0 lead and a runner standing at second base. So Knighton comes up, the pitcher, and helps his own cause by doubling in 3 runs. And that brings up Wally Jones. Wally Jones is the first baseman. He's got a runner at second and only 1 out in this game. And he takes ball 1 low. And there's a ball up the middle, and that's off the glove of the second baseman, Martinez. And he gets the ball in, so that's going to go, probably would have been an infield hit. That would have been a hard play for Martinez to make. So Wally Jones gets an infield hit. And that moves Knighton over to third, and that brings up Jack Dem, number 6, and he's the second baseman today. 4-0 Saints, top of the first. And there's a ground ball to the shortstop. Yoon Che flips it over to the second baseman for 1, and there gets a double play. So beautiful stretch by Parker White there. So Dem hits into a 6-4-3 double play, and that's a big out or double out for the Dolphins, to say the least. They needed that play badly. But the damage has been done. The Saints send 8 batters to the plate and score 4 runs off the Dolphins on 3 walks, a hit batsman, and a double. So Dolphins have 7 innings to get those 4 back and then some. I guess if you have to give up 4 runs, the first inning is probably the best inning to do it. So we'll see how that all plays out. On the other side of the coin, we've got the Cape Henry Collegiate Dolphins. So let's go and look at their lineup right now. And so what we have for the Dolphins is leading off, number 1 is Yoon Che. Yoon is playing shortstop today. He's actually number 3. Followed by Reed Downs. Reed is number 6, and he's in left field. Tanner Shadle, number 1, will be in right field. Parker White, number 12, will be at first base. Number 4, Andrew Hart, is in center field. Number 26, Jack Wickham, is at third base. Number 27, the DH today, is Ryan Hummel. Number 14, Cooper Angley, is the catcher. And the 9-hitter is the second baseman, number 35, Chris Martinez. So, as we mentioned, Dolphins have a little bit of work to do to get this game back into respectability, I guess. The only thing you could say after giving up 4 runs in the first inning on just a double. Again, 3 batters walked, 1 batter hit by a pitch, and then a double, and that was the damage. So Dolphins will start to chip away here and try to get this game back square if they can. Again, St. Chris coming into this game with a record of 14-8, rated 45th in the state, and the Dolphins 24-4, ranked 4th. So you would think the Dolphins would have the advantage, but right now on paper, they're down 4-0. So here we go. Yoon Che leading off against Henry Knighton, and Knighton's first pitch is down the middle, strike 1. And there's a line shot, but foul off the left field fence, or left side fence. Knighton's pitch low and away. So 1 ball, 2 strikes to Yoon. And there is called strike 3 on the outside corner. So just like the Saints, the Dolphins start out with their first batter taking called strike 3 for out number 1. And here comes Reed Downs, the left fielder, number 6. Reed is batting .368 on the year. He fouls that one back for strike 2. He's got 22 plate appearances and 7 hits with 5 RBIs. He's got some quickness, so they need him on base. And there's also another foul ball back. That ball was probably a little high and outside, but he swung at it. So no balls, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the bottom of the first. Cape Henry down 4-0 to the St. Christopher Saints from Richmond, Virginia. And there's a ball lined up the middle for a base hit. So the left-hander Reed Downs does his job, and he gets on base with the first hit for the Dolphins of the day. And that'll bring up the offensive explosion that is Tanner Shadle. Tanner is pretty much leading the Dolphins in all categories. He's leading an average with a .475. He's got 38 hits, 34 RBIs. So Shadle, the right fielder now, comes up, and he grounds the ball lazily to the third baseman, who makes a nice play to second, but not in time to first. So Tanner hits a ball for a fielder's choice. They get Reed Downs at second base, and that'll bring up Parker White, the first baseman for the Dolphins. And Parker leads the team in runs, RBIs, and homers, and he takes low ball 1. Takes outside, ball 2. That's bounced in the dirt, ball 3. So Parker White pitching him very carefully with Tanner Shadle at first base. There's 2 outs here in the bottom of the first. The wind is blowing straight in from center field. So, and that's ball 4. 4 straight pitches. So a walk to Parker White. Probably not what Henry Knighton wanted to do there, with just a nice play made by his defense behind him. Comes in and walks, but he does, and that brings up Andrew Hart, the center fielder. Andrew leads the team in stolen bases. Definitely the fastest guy probably on the field for both teams. Andrew's also a track star here at Cape Henry Collegiate. So right now we have the catcher, Joseph Connor, going out to talk to Henry Knighton just to make sure they're on the same page. Dolphins have 2 batters on, 2 runners on, and Andrew Hart, their center fielder, up to bat, number 4. There's a ball inside. Very windy here. Overcast day. Temperatures are pretty good. Low 70s, maybe mid 70s. There's a ball low outside. It is very breezy, as I mentioned. Strong breeze blowing in dead center field. Predicting some thunderstorms later today, and that's probably why they started the game so early. There's a ball down the middle, strike 1, fastball. Nice pitch by Knighton. So 2 balls, 1 strike. And Andrew fouls that one back off the stanchion. Make that Taco Bell sound. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 runners on, 4-0 St. Chris after 1. And Hart swings and misses. With a runner on first, he cannot advance, and he swings at a ball in the dirt and goes down. Strikeout. So the Dolphins put 2 on, but do not come up with any runners here, or excuse me, any runs here, and that'll retire the side. So after 1 inning of play, St. Chris is leading 4-0 in this Virginia State Regional Playoff game at Cape Henry Collegiate in Virginia Beach, Virginia. As I mentioned, these 2 teams know each other well. They played on March 18th, and the Dolphins won that game 2-1. Against common opponents, the Dolphins are 5-2, and the Saints are 6-3. So this is an evenly matched game on paper between these 2 teams. And it seems whenever they face each other, the stakes are high, and the difference usually comes down to a run or a defensive play. Today, it might wind up being pitching. Should be good test for the Dolphins, and it already looks like it will be. And remember, the Dolphins are the Virginia State champions in this division. St. Chris head coach is Tony Cismendera. And the head coach for the Dolphins, we've already said, is Chris Dotello. Again, our umpires are Mark behind the plate, Mike and Rodney in the field. So Trey Taylor comes back out for his second piece of work, and he'll face Jacob Gray. And Gray takes 1 ball and 1 strike. There's a ball on the outside corner. Gray is in left field today, and he lines the ball up the middle for a hit. So St. Chris has their first runner on, and that brings them back up to the top of the order. And Bradley Garner, he struck out looking his first time up. Number 23, and he is the shortstop today. and he takes low, ball 1. So Garner is up second time in just the second inning. There's a strike. With a runner on first, Jacob Gray, the left fielder. Don't know what kind of speed he has over there. Dolphins are holding him on. Taylor delivers, and there's a ball, and it's in the dirt, and Gray was going anyway. He had that base stolen. So, stolen base and a wild pitch. Take your pick. Pass ball, doesn't matter. Saints have a runner, number 4, standing on second base, and Bradley Garner is up with a 2-1 count in his favor. Trey Taylor had to come on in the first inning. He was not the starting pitcher for the Dolphins, but he's come on in relief and trying to work his own way out of a jam. And there's a ground ball to the shortstop who cannot come up with the play. So that ball rolled up on him, and it never took a hop, and it just kind of stayed on the dirt there. And Yunchi did not come up with the ball, and that'll be an error. So runners on first and third. And the Saints are back in business again, leading 4-0 here in the first inning. In the second inning. And now it looks like there'll be some major changes. So Nate Jensen is going to go out into right field. Tanner Shadle comes out. And on the mound now is number, looks like 26, I believe. And that would be Jack Wickham. So Wickham is going to come in to pitch. Shadle's going to come in to play third. Nate Jensen's going to come in to play right field. Jack Wickham got the last out of the TCIS championship game with the bases loaded, and that was on Friday night. And so some wholesale changes here for the Dolphins. So Wickham will now go to pitch. Tanner will now go to third base. And Nate Jensen will come in as the new right fielder. He won't hit. I'm sure Wickham and Shadle will stay in their positions in the batting order. So Ryan Hummel will still be the DH, we think. We have to wait and see if he gets up next inning. If not, Jensen might take that position as well. I think we have kind of coaches trying to sort this out now. This gets a little complicated when you make position changes and so forth. But anyway, we're going to play ball while they're sorting all that stuff out, and that brings up Joseph Connor, and Joseph walked and scored his first time up, and he's up again with runners on first and third, and no outs here in the second inning. So Wickham comes on, and he throws high, ball 1. As I mentioned, Jack just pitched on Friday night, so didn't pitch much, just that last inning, but we'll see what he's got in the tank. There's high, ball 2. So not much going right for the Dolphins at this moment. Here at home against St. Chris from Richmond. There's a strike down the middle. And the sun just peeked out. And there's a fly ball, but out of play on the right side. Jensen gives chase, but that won't be there. Lands in the playground here at Cape Henry. A lot of little kids out there playing. 2 balls, 2 strikes, no outs. Runners on first and third. Top of the second, 4-0 Saints. And there's another fly ball driven foul on the outside to the right side. Runner goes, but that's a foul ball. So Bradley Garner, the shortstop, took off on that pitch, but Joseph Connor fouled it back. On deck, Charlie Knighton, who also walked. He's the third baseman. And Wickham throws over to first. Not much of a lead there by Bradley Garner. And there's a line shot that's going to be caught and then thrown over to first for the double play. So nice play there by Yoon. And they keep the runner at third. So a beautiful play by the shortstop, Yoon Che. And so that's going to be an F6 and a double play. So good play there by the Dolphins, one that was much needed, and Wickham throws a strike to Charlie Knighton on the outside corner. Best part of that play is they got 2 outs and the run didn't score from third. There's strike 2. Not quite sure what Bradley Garner was thinking. I mean, the ball was well hit, but not struck particularly over the middle, right at the shortstop, and he took a big lead unless he was already stealing. And there's a ball, and that's going to be a play that Wickham can't make off the mound. And that'll be an E1. And that does get Gray home for the 5th run of the game and puts Charlie Knighton on first. And that brings up number 34, Bryce Neely, who walked his last time up. So Dolphins do a nice defensive play, and they follow it up with a bad defensive play. There's a ball on the outside corner. 5-0 St. Chris over the Cape Henry Dolphins here in the top of the 2nd. There's a nice pitch. Curveball, strike 1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Neely. Wickham throws back, and oh boy, that was close. It looked like they had him, but Parker White dropped the ball. Knighton was definitely leaning towards second base, and a good throw there, but Parker White couldn't hold on to it. There's a nice pitch, strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes tonight. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Neely. There's another pickoff attempt, not nearly as close as the last one. Curveball, strike 3. So Wickham comes in and does a nice job getting out of it. He still gives up a run on his own error to Charlie Knighton, and so St. Chris comes up with another one for their 5th run of the game. So after 1.5, we have the score is 5-0 in favor of St. Chris. We're going to step away for a minute. All right, there's a ground ball up the middle. Shortstop makes a nice play and throws over to first. There's a beautiful play. So ball was hit pretty much up the middle, and Bradney Gardner fielded it and threw out Wickham on a nice play for the first out of the inning for St. Chris. That brings up Ryan Hummel. And we were talking about changes, and it does look like Hummel is out and Jensen is in. And so Hummel never gets to hit in this game. And so that'll bring Nate Jensen into the game as the DH. And he's already in the count 2-1. So Jensen comes in and takes the place of Ryan Hummel as the right fielder. And he'll bat. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, and he lines that one to right, but right at the right fielder for an out. And that's Willie Hurt over there in right. So Willie makes the play, and that is out number 2 for Cape Henry. Henry Knighton is the pitcher for St. Chris, and he's done a nice job keeping the Dolphins off balance, and he starts off Cooper Angley with strike 1. Coop fouls that one back into the net for strike 2. So already ahead of the count, 0-2 with 2 outs and a 5-run lead. Knighton is taking no time to get the balls over. That ball is outside. On deck is Chris Martinez. That ball is low, ball 1. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 5-0 St. Chris here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. There's a line shot to the second baseman who makes a nice stop, picks it up and throws, but it's off the line, and Angley is going to go to second base, and he's going to be out by half a mile. Catcher did a fantastic job, and that would be Joseph Connor backing up that play. Angley kind of got hung up by the umpire and scrambled to get on back to second, and by that time, the catcher had thrown the ball to the shortstop covering second, and Cooper was out and tried to dance a little bit around second, but couldn't make it and was thrown out trying to stretch a single into a double. So for Coop, that's going to go a base hit and thrown out trying to stretch it into second. So no runs for the Dolphins again. They're a team that scores 10 runs a game but on average, and they are down 5-0 here at Cape Henry. And it looks like Wickham is going to come out to start the 3rd inning. And that's going to bring up number 25, Willie Hurt, the right fielder. Willie got hit by a pitch in the 1st inning. Henry Knighton, the pitcher, and he doubled and scored and got 3 RBIs with the bases loaded. And then Wally Jones came in and he got a hit and scored Willie Hurt. So the guys that are hitting the most for St. Chris are coming up to bat, and the wind is really gusting now. And this would go along with some of the weather we're expecting today. So we'll see if we can hold off and keep playing baseball. So here we go. Third inning, Willie Hurt up to bat. And Willie shows bunt, but bunts it foul for strike one. Hurt is the right fielder. There's another foul ball. This one much farther and much more to the left for strike two. The Dolphins really couldn't play any worse than they are currently playing, so it'll be interesting to see how they respond the rest of the way, but nothing going their way. There's another foul ball out of play on the left side. So Hurt still down 2 strikes, no balls here in the third inning. No outs. St. Chris up 5-0. Everything going right for the Saints, not much for the Dolphins. And there's a ground ball, and that's foul on the right side. So Willie Hurt using both sides of the field now and fouling off pitches from Wickham. There's a swinging strike. Ball was in the dirt. Angley comes out, makes a nice throw over to Parker White, and there's the first out of the third inning on a strikeout by Willie Hurt. Henry Knighton, the pitcher, is coming up. Henry came up with a big hit in the first inning, a double with the bases loaded. And I mean, he drove that ball over third base just inside the line and took it all the way to the fence. Reed Down came up, made a nice throw, but by that time the damage was done. Wickham comes in with a curveball for strike one. So Henry definitely helped his own cause, and his team has staked him to a 5-0 lead. There's strike two. Knighton steps out, steps back in. Ball high. Just seems like there's a lot of pep in the step of the Saints today. Ball two outside. They definitely got fired up in that first inning, and they've carried it through now, and they're making defensive plays. They're making plays at the plate. They just definitely look like a team that is here to give the Dolphins some trouble. Probably stung a little bit that they lost last year in the state playoffs, and again this year to the Dolphins 2-1. So Knighton is fouling off pitch after pitch after pitch. He's got a 2-2 count with one out. And there's a line shot to right, but that was right at Nate Jensen, and he makes the play for the second out of the inning. Wally Jones comes up. Wally is the first baseman. He got a hit in the first inning and drove in a run himself. He takes high ball one. There's a strike on the inside corner. That's just a bit outside, ball two. Nice pitch there, but no strike call there. That was borderline high. Probably could have been called a strike, but it was called a ball. So 3 balls and 1 strike to Wally Jones. And there's a line shot, and Reed Downs got a great jump and made a nice play. That ball looked like it was going to be a base hit for sure, but Reed Downs came in quickly and made the play for the third out of the inning. So that's the first inning in this game that the Saints have not scored, but they still lead 5-0, and the Dolphins, with only 5 chances left, have got to start putting some runners on and get some runs in the bank here. After 2.5, Cape Henry 0, St. Chris Saints 5. We'll be right back. All right, well, we're back. We are in the bottom of the third inning, and leading off for the Dolphins will be the second baseman, Chris Martinez. It's his first time up at bat today, facing Henry Knighton, and he takes down the middle and swings and misses for strike one. Ball in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike for Martinez. Decent crowd on hand here today, considering this early start. There's a ball up and out. Got a few alum back here at Cape Henry. Colleges are out for this summer. There's a strike called on the outside corner. St. Chris has a nice contingency over by their dugout. There's a ground ball, but foul. Two balls, 2 strikes, no outs here in the bottom of the third. Chris Martinez, and he takes ball low for a full count. So Martinez, the second baseman, has worked Henry Knighton, the pitcher, to a full count. And the payoff pitch, and that's down the middle, and Martinez swings and hits it right to the second baseman for an easy 4-3 out. That goes back to the top of the order. Yoon Che is up for the Dolphins, and he struck out looking his first time up in the first inning. Dolphins definitely need base runners, and they need them quick. Ball's on the outside, ball one. Ball on the outside corner, ball two. Again, wind blowing quite briskly here at Cape Henry. And there's a ball driven to right, and that ball's hit really well, but the right fielder gets back in time. And just as I say, the wind, it definitely kicked up and held up Yoon's ball. That ball was hit well, but literally right into the way the flags are blowing. And boy, the right fielder, number 25, Willie Hurt, got on his horse, but the ball held up, and he didn't really have to do much after that. So that's an F9 for the second out, and that brings up Reed Downs, and Reed singled his first time up. And he swings and misses for strike one. Reed has the only hit for the Dolphins so far. Curveball outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. 5-0 St. Chris over Cape Henry Dolphins. And that's a ball that is foul. I don't know what Reed was thinking on that pitch. That ball was in the dirt probably 55 feet, and he attempted to swing anyway for strike 1. So 2 balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Reed, the left-hander. So he's batting from the left side of the plate against the right-hander, Henry Knighton. And Knighton throws it right down the middle, and Downs hits it to the second baseman, and that's out number 3. So Cape Henry throws their third 0 up after going 1-2-3, 1-2-3 the last 2 innings. So after 3, St. Chris from Richmond, Virginia is on top, 5-0. Student tech team today has increased in numbers. As we mentioned in the beginning of the game, Linda is here. RJ working the camera, Linda working the scoreboard. Also have Cameron and Wyatt have joined us up here in the booth, and they're working their phones diligently. I can only imagine, because God knows I'm not going to ask them what they're doing. As the father of 3 children and a high school teacher for 20 years, I know when not to ask, what are you looking at on your phones? They're all agreeing with me. So we're just going to move on into this game. Here we are in the 4th. Jack Den is up. Dem last time up hit into a ground double play. He hits it back to Yoon at short. So he hit into the 6-4-3 double play, and he hits out into shortstop again for the first out of this inning, 6-3. Jacob Gray, the left fielder, number 4, will come up. His last time up, he singled and scored the 5th run, and he lines one to the shortstop, Yoon Che, this time. So pretty much 2 pitches, 2 outs. So this is definitely the inning that the Dolphins wanted to get started. Yoon's made both plays over at short, and that brings up the top of the order. Bradley Garner, number 23. He struck out and reached on an error to Yoon, the shortstop, his last time up. We are in the top of the 4th. St. Chris 5-0 over the Dolphins. And Jack Wickham pitching and quickly falls behind 2 balls and no strikes to Bradley Garner. There's a ball right down the middle and lifted high into the left fielder, and Downs is there. Tricky win, but he gets him. And so 3 up and 3 down again for the 2nd inning in a row for Cape Henry against St. Chris. But the Dolphins haven't been doing too poorly defensively, but nothing to show for it offensively, and they're down still 5-0 going into the bottom of the 4th. Cape Henry will have their number 3 batter, Tanner Shadle, leading off, followed by number 12, Parker White, the first baseman, and Andrew Hart will hit 3rd in this inning, the center fielder, number 4. Sun peeking out a little bit here at Cape Henry. A allowing us to go to our shades and good crowd here at Cape Henry. Good crowd for this playoff game. Henry Knighton, the pitcher for St. Chris, still out there with a 5-0 lead. No reason why to pull him. He's pitching a great game. He's only given up the one hit to Reed Downs back in the first inning. So Knighton throwing a one-hitter here, but he's going to face the lion's share and the lion's den of the Cape Henry Dolphin low order here with the number 3, 4, and 5 hitter. So Tanner Shadle comes up. He hit into a force fielder's choice his first time up. And he swings and misses at a ball in the dirt for strike 1. Takes high, ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curveball that he lines to the the shortstop, who comes up firing for a beautiful play. So nice play over there by the shortstop, Brady Garner. Got a nice hop, came up with it with a strong throw, and throws out Tanner Shadle 6-3 for out number 1 in the inning. Parker White comes up, the first baseman. As I said, Parker leads the team in homers and RBIs. He takes low and inside, ball 1. We've seen Parker hit some monster home runs to right field here. But again, today the wind is just not going to let that ball get out of here. So takes outside, ball 2. Down in the dirt, ball 3. Parker walked his first time at bat on 4 pitches. So word is out in St. Chris to pitch around Parker White. And there's a strike down the middle for a 3-0 count. So we'll see what Knighton does here. 3-1. That's the first strike he's thrown to Parker White. Base is empty. He's got 1 out and a 5-run lead. He throws it a little up that Parker White goes for and gets him now on a 3-2 count. So a good pitch by Knighton there. Attractive enough up, but not in the strike zone, and Parker grounds it foul for a full count. And there's a ball lined up the middle. Not hard, but second baseman can't get to it. And Parker White is there on a base hit up the middle. Second baseman, Jack Dem, made a nice play, but couldn't come up with it. He never would have gotten Parker anyway. Parker is a left-hander and gets down the line pretty quickly. So that brings up Andrew Hart. Andrew struck out his first time up. And so with 1 out, runner on first for Cape Henry. And he shows bunt. And he did bunt it, but it bunted foul. The ball was high and outside. I think if he pulls it back, it probably goes past the catcher. But instead, he offered and bunted it foul, and he's down 1 strike. They throw over, but Parker's back in time. Field umpires again are Mike and Rodney. Mike over at first base. Rodney is now at second. Home plate umpire Mark behind the bag at home. And there's a ball. Oof. I guess it was a little outside. It looked good from where we are, almost dead center field. But that's a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. 1 runner on. 5-0 St. Chris over Cape Henry. We're in the 4th, and that ball is a horrible curveball that gets away from Knighton and hits Andrew So, and Andrew just kind of turned his shoulder lazily and said, "Go ahead and hit me. We need runners, and that ball is not going very fast." And so here the Dolphins are, runners on first and second with one out. And here comes the pitching coach of St. Chris with a 5-run lead and runners on first and second to talk to Knighton. Pretty sure he's going to leave him in. There's no reason to pull him at this point. He's pitching a great game. It's only the 4th inning. Jack Wickham is up. Jack grounded out to the shortstop his last time up. Back in the second, Jack's now the pitcher in the game. Peyton Fisk started the game, got a strikeout, then walked the next 3 batters, hit the 4th, gave up a double, and that was it. Trey Taylor came in, worked a half an inning, gave up another hit for the 5th run, and then Wickham came in, and he gave up a run. Taylor gave up a hit but no runs, and then Wickham came in and gave up a run. So that's the 5 that St. Chris has put on the board the first 2 innings. Haven't scored since, and now the Dolphins have something going here in the bottom of the 4th. And there's a ball inside to Wickham for ball 2. So Jack ahead of the count real quick, 2-0, with Parker White at second and Andrew Hart at first. Both those guys have big speed, so any kind of hit, that's going to be out of play on the right side. Any kind of base hit will certainly get Parker home from second, and anything in the gap or to the fence will get Andrew Hart home. So, boy, a run here could really get the Dolphins back in this game, at least towards getting them back in this game. And there's a pickoff attempt that throws into the outfield, and it almost looks like it was planned. And if it was, it didn't work out because now they overthrow the third baseman, and that allows Andrew Hart down to second. So not a great play there by St. Chris. Knighton threw the ball behind his shortstop, covering second. It almost looked like it was on purpose. The center fielder was flying up to back up. He picked it up and threw to third, but off the mark, got by the third baseman, allowed Andrew Hart from first to second. So on a pickoff attempt, the Dolphins move over 2 bases, and now they have runners on third and second, and Wickham is still up at bat with a 2-1 ball count. And that's ball low outside for ball 3. So St. Chris did not do anything to help themselves in that situation. And there's a ball inside for ball 4. So now the Dolphins have the bases loaded. And this is just what the doctor ordered. And that brings up number 34, Nate Jensen. And Nate was inserted in this game when all of the shenanigans went on in the first inning with pitching changes and position changes. And so now Nate comes up for the first time with the bases loaded and only 1 out. And he promptly fouls that one back for strike 1. Nate's hitting .275 on the year. So good time to bump that up a little bit. And he takes a beautiful off-speed pitch down the middle. Strike 2. Nate must not have been looking for that pitch because he could have driven that ball somewhere hard. Same pitch but low, and he does lay off that for ball 1. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out, bases loaded. Cape Henry down 5-0 here in the bottom of the 4th to St. Christopher's Saints. And that is lined hard to the shortstop, and he flips it over to the second baseman for 1. They do not get the play at first, and so the Dolphins do score. So they do get a run there. That's the second out of the inning. So Jensen hits into a forced fielder's choice. Wickham is out at second. Parker White scores. Andrew Hart goes to third. So runners on first and third. 2 outs now in the bottom of the fourth. Dolphins finally put a run on the board, so it's 5-1, and here comes Cooper Angley, the catcher. And he takes high and inside, ball 1. I will tell you, we've got a lot of expensive gear, and that's strike on the inside corner in this booth here, and if it starts to get any kind of crazy rain or whatever, we will be hightailing it out of here. One, because this booth is completely metal and lightning strikes would not do any of us any good. And Cooper sends one to the third baseman and over the outstretched hands, and so that gets another run home. So Angley comes through with a nice base hit there, and that gets Andrew Hart home, and that moves Nate Jensen over to second. So the Dolphins come up with their own 2 runs, so that's a start back in the right direction, and that brings up Chris Martinez, who grounded out to the second baseman his last time up. But he comes up now with runners on first and second and 2 outs, and this time the catcher Connor wants to have a talk to Knighton, and it looks like Henry Knighton, the pitcher, is getting a little discombobulated out there, throwing a lot more pitches now, walking people. So we'll see what happens here. And there's a ground ball to the first baseman, and that is going to stay fair. And it goes out of the glove, and now they're going to throw it over. And now they've got Nate Jensen caught in a rundown, and Nate's going to go back and forth, and he's going to be tagged out at third. Boy, the Dolphins caught a break and just couldn't buy a break. And Jensen rounded third and was thinking about scoring, and by the time he made up his mind, they had thrown the ball back to third base, and Jensen's hurt on the play. It looks like he jammed a finger. So Jensen is thrown out on a Martinez fielder's choice. There's actually an error on the first baseman. I mean, the ball was hit lazily down to first base. Could have been picked up and made the play very nicely, but instead the ball trickled to second base, and the Dolphins would have had the bases loaded, but Jensen rounded third and got thrown out. So that's going to do it. They do score 2, so the Dolphins are on the board, 5-2. Wickham comes out for his third inning of work. That could have been a better inning for the Dolphins, but as it stands, they got 2, and they're somewhat back in this game going into the top of the 5th inning. Leading off will be the catcher, Joseph Connor, followed by the third baseman, Charlie Knighton, and the center fielder, Bryce Neely. So a good inning for the Dolphins. Got 2 back, and they've got 3 more frames to keep St. Chris off the board and come up with their own runs and see if they can go back to the state regional finals. Again, Cape Henry is the state champions, the defending champions. But they're in a dogfight here at home against St. Chris Saints from Richmond. And there's strike 1, Wickham to Connor. There's strike 2, nice pitch on the outside corner by Jack Wickham. The catcher walked and scored his first time up, and then flied out to the shortstop for a double play. He actually lined out to Yoon Che, and Yoon threw it over and caught Brady Garner at first. There's a ball on the outside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There's an off-speed pitch, and that's going to go to the shortstop, Che, and Yoon comes over with a beautiful throw in time for out number 1. So 6-3 there, and that brings up the third baseman, Charlie Knighton. Charlie walked and scored his first time up and reached on an error by the first baseman, by the pitcher in the second inning. He takes for ball 1. There's a strike on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. And there is another strike on the outside corner. So home plate umpire Mark looks like he's loosening up a little bit. Those pitches are strikes just on the corner, and there's a nice off-speed pitch for strike 3 for Wickham. So 2 outs, nobody on here in the 5th inning. Dolphins losing 5-2. They could definitely use a quick inning here and then get those bats back. There's ball in the dirt for 1. Nice play back there by Angley. Nobody on base. Bryce Neely is the batter. He's number 34 and their center fielder. Bryce walked and scored and struck out looking. He hits a high fly ball, and that's going to be Andrew Hart from center field for an F8 out. So 3 up, 3 down again for the 3rd inning in a row. Wickham definitely came in and did his job, or has been doing his job. Now the bats have to get doing their job for Cape Henry. So tide turning slightly here in this ball game. It was 5-0 St. Chris. Dolphins came back with 2 runs last inning to make it a 5-2 ball game. Then they went down 1-2-3 here in the 5th. And now we have the bottom of the 5th. And Cape Henry coming to bat. And they'll have the top of the order. Yoon Che, Reed Downs, and Tanner Shadle. So this is what the Dolphins wanted in this part of the game. Get your top of the order up. Pitcher on the other team is starting to get a little tired. They've already scored 2 runs in the last inning to make it a 5-2 ball game. And as we told you, the Dolphins average 10 runs a game, so they can strike and strike often when they get the ball rolling. So this might be a good inning to do that. Probably hear the wind rattling around in our microphones here. Cape Henry ladies varsity lacrosse team is up 9-0 in their state game. So they're playing well. The Lady Dolphin soccer team won their game yesterday 7-0 over Chatham Hall. They're moving on in the States. So a lot of athletic events here at Cape Henry. And we're watching a good baseball game now between the Cape Henry Collegiate Dolphins and the St. Christopher Saints. 5-2 Saints leading off. Yoon Che. And Yoon has a 2 ball and 1 strike count on him. There's a ball on the outside, 3-1. So as we mentioned, Knighton might be a little tired now. Henry is pitched now into the 5th. And there's just as we say that, a fastball down the middle, and Yoon swings and misses for a full count. So 3 balls, 2 strikes. Home plate umpire Mark calls time. Lets everybody get squared back up, and here we go. And the payoff pitch, and that is high, ball 4. So Dolphins get their leadoff runner on board, and that's actually for the first time in this ball game that they actually have a leadoff runner on, and it's the 5th inning. So Yoon does his part. That brings up Reed Downs, and Reed singled and then grounded out to the second baseman his last 2 times at bat. He now comes up with a runner on first. We'll see if they let Yoon steal. And he lines the ball to right field, but right at the right fielder. Hit the ball hard, but right at him. So that's an F9 for out number 1. And that'll bring up Tanner Shadle. And Tanner hit into a fielder's choice and then grounded out to the shortstop. So he's 0 for 2 today with a runner on first. Need a hit here, the Dolphins. There's ball low outside. Swing and foul ball. Strike 1. Good thing about starting early is it's only 5 o'clock and the game's in the 5th inning. Again, trying to beat the weather system that's moving in. There's a throw over to first. Yoon is back in time. And this game has actually moved pretty quick. They are not dilly-dallying in between innings. They are moving this right along. Same intent and purpose. And it's been a pretty clean game, and there's a ball that gets by the catcher. And so Yoon gets down to second base. That's going to be a pass ball. So Tanner's got 2 balls and 1 strike. Now a runner at second. And he lines that ball for a base hit into left field. Into left field, and that scores a run. And so Tanner does what Tanner does, and that's a base hit with a runner on second, and they score. So the Dolphins get the 3rd run back, and with 1 out here in the 5th, a runner on first, and that brings up Parker White. Parker, the big hitting first baseman, and they have walked him, and then he singled his last time up. So Parker was walked and then singled, and it looks like now they probably will make a pitching change. And they will. So Henry Knighton is going to leave the game, number 10, to a nice applause by the St. Chris faithful here. He pitched a darn good game. And considering he was spotted 4 runs in the first and another in the second, did a nice job keeping the Dolphins down, but now the Dolphins are starting to flex their offensive powers. And pitching now will be number 23, and that is the shortstop, Bradley Garner. So he'll come in to pitch, Garner. And number 25, Willie Hurt, who is the right fielder, will move to short. And we'll see who they throw out in... Excuse me, Willie Hurt. Yeah, Willie Hurt was the right fielder. So we'll see who they put out there now. And Charlie Knighton was the 3rd baseman. He's now in right field, I believe. And it looks like trying to get this all straight here. And it looks like the 3rd baseman will be Jack Dem. So Dem moves over from second to third, and the pitcher, Knighton, moves over to second base. So we have a merry-go-round here. So the pitcher moves to second. The second baseman moves to short. The right fielder moves to third. I don't know. Shortstop is now pitching. Third baseman's in right. Right fielder's at short. The pitcher's at second. Second baseman's at third. There you go. Who's on first? I don't know who's on third. Evan Costello. Great routine. Look it up. There's ball one outside to Parker White. So the important thing for the Dolphins here is Parker White is up with a run in, 1 out, and a runner on first base. And they're down now 5-3. Ball 2. So Parker White, a dangerous hitter in his own right, now with a 2-0 count. You got players on the defense that are in different positions than they were just 2 pitches ago. We'll see what happens here in a state playoff game. That ball is way outside, high, ball 3. So Parker, with a 3-0 count, would love to get on base here and then leave it up to Andrew Hart, the center fielder, to do some damage with runners on first and second. I'm sure they don't want to put one right down the middle here. Parker White probably has the green light. And they do, and he's strike 1. So Brady Garner, the pitcher in the game now, puts one down the middle for strike 1. So 3 balls, 1 strike, 1 out, 1 runner on, and 1 run in. And that is strike 2. Not sure what Parker was looking for that one, but now he's worked through a 3-2 count. And that ball is foul back. Looked like an off-speed, maybe a slider or a curveball on the outside corner, a little up, and Parker got just a little bit under it, but fouled it back. Still 3-2, 1 out, 1 run in. And the payoff pitch. And that is grounded just foul past first base. And Tanner was running on that pitch. He definitely would have gone to third and possibly scored if that ball had been just a foot inside the line instead of the outside the line. But to no avail. 3-2 count. Parker White at the plate, and he is ball 4 in the dirt. So Dolphins with runners on first and second. And here comes Andrew Hart, first and second. Andrew struck out and was hit by a pitch his last time up. He's got 2 ducks on the pond, 1 out. And he swings at a ball high in the zone for strike 1. Foul ball back. No balls, 1 strike, 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. And there's a ball right down the middle, and Andrew can't get up to that one, and that's strike 2, foul back. Two on, 1 out, 1 run in. Dolphins down 5-3. New pitcher on the mound. And there's a line shot, but right at the shortstop, and they double off Tanner Shadle. And boy, that hurt. So that's going to go as a F6 with a double off. Tanner Shadle at second base. And boy, just when the Dolphins had something going, that happens. No reason really why Shadle to run into that. The ball's in front of him, but he got caught, and the shortstop made a nice play. That's Willie Hurt, who was the right fielder. He moves over to short, and he threw a dart to the former pitcher, Knighton, at covering second base, and they got 2 on the Dolphins there. But the Dolphins did get 1 more back, so it's 5-3 going into the 6th, and Wickham is still at the plate. At the mound. And this will be Jack's 4th inning of work. And he'll come up facing Willie Hurt, Henry Knighton, the former pitcher and now second baseman, and Wally Jones, the first baseman. All right, here we go. Top of the 6th. Leading off, Willie Hurt. He takes ball inside. Willie's now the shortstop. He got hit by a pitch and struck out his last time up. Takes a ball inside. Five runs for St. Chris. They've only got 2 hits in this game. They have 3 hits in this game. And nothing really else except for walks and hit batsmen. And there's another walk. And so they start off the 6th inning with their first runner on. And that'll bring up Henry Knighton, who was the pitcher until he was pulled last inning. He's now at second base. Henry doubled in the 1st inning and flied out to right field in the 2nd, and it looks like the Dolphins are going to go to a change here, or at least they're going to talk about it. Dolphins clawed their way back. The last inning, they had runners on 1st and 2nd with 1 out, and Andrew Hart hit a line drive to the shortstop, who was right there, and Tanner Shadle got caught off of second base a little too far, and the shortstop threw a dart to the second baseman covering for a double play. That really hurt. Dolphins definitely had something going last inning, and that could have been a big inning for them, and instead they only scored 1 run, and they're down 2 here in the 6th. With a runner on, Wickham stays in the game, and he faces Henry Knighton. And Knighton flares the ball out to the right fielder, and that ball is caught and made the catch. And the new right fielder is number 40. I believe that is Balin. And that is correct. That is Balaam Newcomb, sophomore, who is now in right field. So he came in for Nate Jensen. One ball, one strike. There's a nice pitch down the middle for strike 2. Wally Jones is up. Wally got a hit in the 1st inning, flied out to the right fielder his last time up. Back. He flied out to the left fielder his last time up. So 1 on, 1 out here in the 6th, 5-3. Cape Henry is losing the state regional game. Oh, there's a nice pitch on the outside corner. So 1 ball, 2 strikes to Jones. Jack Dem on deck. He grounded into a double play and then grounded out to the shortstop his last time up. Here's a swinging strike. So second out of the inning, and that brings up Jack Dem. Jack is now over at third. So runner at first, 2 outs here in the sixth, 5-3. St. Chris over the Cape Henry Dolphins, and strike one. Wickham, the pitcher for the Dolphins, is working pretty quick right now, trying to keep the Saints off balance. Throws over again. Willie Hurt was the right fielder. He's now the shortstop, and Wickham paying a lot of attention to him. Now he steps off. There's a strike on the outside corner. So no balls, 2 strikes. 2 outs here in the top of the sixth. And there's a ground chopper to Cooper Angley, and he makes a nice play over to first base, who makes a nice play, Parker White. So Angley jumps out of there and makes a beautiful 2-3 play to the first baseman, and Parker White using all 6'6" of his long reach to keep his foot on the base for the third out of the inning. So big inning there for the Dolphins to not give up any more runs. And so we go into the bottom of the sixth inning with a 5-3 ball game. And Cape Henry, 2 more chances to score at least 2 to keep their home streak alive, 16-0 here at home, as well as to keep their state championship repeat hopes alive as the champions from last year. So Bradley Garner is back on the mound for the sixth. He came in the 5th inning, relieved Henry Knighton, who pitched the first 5 innings of this game and did a very nice job. And he's at second base now. So up for the Dolphins will be their new pitcher, or I shouldn't say new, he's been pitching for the last 3 innings. Their third pitcher of the game and former third baseman Jack Wickham. Jack grounded out to the shortstop and walked his last time up. And so here we go in the bottom of the sixth, and Wickham skies one up, and it is just foul outside the fence for a high but long strike one. Lady Dolphins now 11-2, and can't tell if it's the half or that's the game. It's probably halftime over at the lacrosse facility. Lady Dolphins look like they're up 11-2. And in the meantime, Wickham has a no-ball, 2-strike count on him. Dolphins definitely need base runners here. And there is a curveball that Wickham can't get up to, and he strikes out for the first out of the inning. So here comes Balaam Newcomb. Hold on. So Newcomb is now not coming up to bat. This looks like Ryan Hummel. Ryan was the DH. So Hummel is going to come up. We're not sure if Newcomb is going to be out, but Hummel is up now. And there is one out here in the 6th inning. Ryan's batting .286, and he takes ball outside for ball 1. And he takes on the outside corner, strike 1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ryan Hummel. 1 out, 5-3. St. Chris Saints over the Cape Henry Dolphins. There's a ball, and it's lined slowly to third, and third baseman bobbles it, and that gets Hummel on first base for an error. So Hummel reaches on an E5, and that brings up the catcher, Cooper Angley. And they're going to pitch run for Hummel. So Angley steps in, and we'll try to give you the pitch runner at first. It might be Thomas X. In the meantime, Angley stands in, and he takes ball 1 down the middle, but it's a ball. Ball 2 on the outside. That is Turner Cooley is the pitch runner. So Turner's over at first. Cooper takes down ball 3. So Hummel came in and reached on an error, and then he was pitch ran for by Turner Cool. And there is a strike on the outside corner for strike 1. 3 balls, 1 strike, 1 out, 5-3 here in the bottom of the 6th. Strike 2. So Coop takes a ball right down the middle for strike 2. Full count. Runner on first. And the payoff pitch. And there's a line shot to right field, and that's going to drop for a base hit. And the pitch runner, Turner, actually didn't get down to second too quick. I think he thought the ball was going to be caught. And then when he did get to second base, they overthrew the second baseman. But in the meantime, he ran to third, and he was out by a mile for the second out. Cooper goes down to second on a base hit. So that brings up Martinez. So the Dolphins have just been killing themselves in this game. Their base running has been atrocious. I mean, I'd love to sugarcoat it as a Cape Henry announcer, but there's no way to say it. They just have run themselves out of this game. And every time they got something going, they made a mistake, and it has cost them. So something to learn there. Turner is just an 8th grader, and so he's going to learn from that. And we'll see if the Dolphins can do anything here. Coach thought enough of him to put him in as a pitch runner. So, decisions. In any event, 2 outs. 5-3 ball game. Cooper Angley standing at second base, and Chris Martinez is the batter. And Martinez sends a ball over the first baseman's head, and just a great diving catch by the right fielder, number 4, Jacob Gray. And it was in foul territory, but he just came flying in and stuck out his arm and made a beautiful diving catch over there just behind first base for the third out of the inning. Great play by the right fielder there for the third out of the inning. So the Dolphins started off with a strikeout, reached on an error, got a base hit, caught off the base, and then a beautiful defensive play, and they come up empty here in the sixth. So 5-3, and we have a new pitcher now. Tanner Shadle is now pitching for the Dolphins here in the seventh inning. Garrison White has moved into right field. Andrew Hart is still in center. And Wickham moves over to third, his natural position. So Dolphins juggling a little bit. I think we're going to get away with it weather-wise, guys. I think this might have been the fastest we've ever set up for a game. So much kudos to Linda and RJ for getting out here early. But we're here. The sun is out. The wind's actually died down. The crowd has gotten a lot larger here out in Cape Henry in the right field bleacher section, just to my left. And we got one more inning of baseball, maybe, with Cape Henry down 5-3, and St. Chris Saints coming up to bat, and they're going to have their number 9 hitter, Jacob Gray, who made that beautiful play in the last inning. So he'll lead off. He singled and flied out to the shortstop. So here we go in the seventh of a 5-3 ball game. Winner moves on to Friday night's game in the state region. And Tanner starts him off with a side-on fastball for strike one. This one's low and in the dirt, ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Just as I say it's nice and the wind is dying down, the wind kicks up and the sun goes away. There's a ground ball to the second baseman Martinez, plenty of time, and he throws over to White for out number 1. So 4-3, first out of the inning, and that'll bring up the top of the order, Bradley Garner, who is now the pitcher. Bradley started out at shortstop, but number 23 is now pitching. And Tanner Shadle will face him and starts him off with a nice curveball for strike one. Cape Henry will start with their top of the order in the seventh inning. So another chance for the Dolphins. Last time they started with the top of the order, they scored a run. They're going to need at least 2. We'll see how this inning goes in order to keep this ball game going. No balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, and there's a curveball that was just low. Home plate umpire Mark did not see it as the hometown fans did, and it's a ball. There's another ball on the outside corner. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the top of the 7th of a 5-3 ball game. There's a foul ball way over to the right, might be in the tennis courts, and it is. Another ball into the tennis courts, off to our left, your right, or their right, our left. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And there's another ball off out of play. This time it will be in the playground. So Garner fouling off 3 pitches in a row after being down 2, and there's a nice curveball for strike 3. So good pitch there by Tanner, and he gets Garner looking for the second out of the inning. And that brings up Joseph Connor, the catcher. He walked and scored in the first inning. He hit into a double play the second inning to the shortstop and grounded out to the shortstop and takes strike 1 from Tanner Shadle here in the 7th. Quick inning needed by the Dolphins, and then they're going to need to get runs their half. But they got to get out of this one first, and Shadle throws another beautiful dart on the outside corner for strike 2. So 2 strikes, no balls. And there's a ground ball towards the shortstop, and Yoon makes the beautiful play over to first for another 6-3. So Connor is doing his part. Joseph Connor, he's hit it to the shortstop his last 3 times and have resulted in outs. So that's going to do it for St. Chris. They've got 5 runs on the board after regulation 7, and the Cape Henry Dolphins are down 2 with the top of the order coming up. And they're going to need to have at least 2 to tie this game and 3 to move on to Friday night's game. So we'll see if the magic of 16-0 here at Cape Henry Collegiate holds true, and the Dolphins can get to magic number 17, which happens to be yours truly's lucky number, 17, after the great Celtic John Havlicek. And John Havlicek was known to be big in clutch situations. Havlicek stole the ball against the Philadelphia 76ers in a call that Johnny Most, who has since passed, is probably still saying up in heaven somewhere. Havlicek stole the ball. But that's another sport for another time. In the meantime, we are down to it. Bottom of the 7th here at home, Cape Henry Collegiate Dolphins down 2 at the top of the order up. And they're facing number 23, Bradley Garner. St. Chris did have somebody warming up in the bullpen in between that inning. So they do have a fresh arm, I'm sure, waiting to see if they're going to need that person. But in the meantime, they're going to stick with their reliever, Bradley Garner, see if he can find 3 outs in this lineup and move St. Chris on to the state playoffs here in the VISAA division. A lot of alum hanging out. We've got Josh Holland from baseball here from last year's state team. Matt Gross over there, home from college in Louisiana. All right, he's talking to Mr. Schleifer. So here we go. Last inning, Dolphins down 2. They need some big hits and big runs here to keep their streak alive. And they're going to start with their leadoff hitter, Yoon Chi, the shortstop. Yoon has struck out looking, flied out, and walked. And he takes ball 1 here in the 7th. Dolphins need runners and they need runs. Top of the order, let's see if there's any magic left in the tank. There's a strike down the middle for strike one. Again, Bradley Garner came in last inning, and with the help of some bad base running, got out of that one. And here's Yoon, and he flies that one out of play on the right side for strike two. So 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Garner looking into his own dugout. I'm not sure if he was encouraging the guys or looking for instructions, but in any regard, he comes out and he strikes out Yoon on a high and outside pitch for a strikeout and out number one. Again, not helping themselves here. And that'll bring up the two-hitter, Reed Downs, and the catcher, Connor, is going to go out and talk to Garner. Yoon's a senior. He'll be playing baseball next year at Amherst College up in Massachusetts. Yoon is an exceptional man and has done great things for this program. Cooper Angley will be playing in Rhodes College. The other senior on the team who's played exceptionally well, Jack Wickham. Also the third baseman, pitcher. Dolphins have had some great leadership this year. They won the TCIS championship a week ago, and now they're down to their last batters here trying to extend. Reed Downs has a 2-0 count. They're down 2. They need runners. They've got 1 out in the inning. And that ball is up. Ball 3. And there's ball 4. So Reed Down reaches on a walk, and that's the first runner on base for the Dolphins. So did what they needed to do, and that's going to bring up Tanner Shadle. And again, Tanner's the best hitter on the team. And boy, this would be a great time for a home run. Wind is blowing not as hard as it was, and if Tanner gets a hold of one, this would be just a phenomenal shot. Tanner has 4 homers on the season. This would be a great time to launch one here. He takes outside, ball 1. And for once, the Dolphins are cheering. This is the first time all game the Dolphins have actually cheered from the bench. They're usually pretty boisterous, but not so much this game. And there's a strike down the middle. Nice pitch there by Garner for strike 1. So 1 ball, 1 strike on Shadle. 1 out, runner on first. Dolphins down 2 here in the last of the 7th inning. St. Chris scored all their runs in the first and second inning. And this time he hits a hard ground ball, and it goes to the second baseman, and the second baseman can't make the play. And that'll put the second runner on for the Dolphins. So that's an error on the second baseman. So Shadle is down to first base. Reed Downs down to second base. That was a costly error, and that's going to bring up Parker White. And talk about homers. Here's another guy that can jack one out, and this would end the game on such a high note that the Dolphins might not come down till Thursday. But we need runners and we need runs, and so Parker White stands in, and he lines the ball to right, and that is off the fence. It's fair. That's going to get at least 1 home. And here's the play at the plate, and he's safe. And here's the second, and he's safe also. And now both runners scored. So time has been called. Tanner Shadle came in, and he was on the foothills of Reed Downs, and the catcher made the tag at Downs and was late, and Shadle literally slid under Downs, the other Dolphin runner, for the tying run. And I believe they call Parker White out. So Parker White got called out. He singled. 2 runs are scored. Not sure. I guess they called him out of the base path or interference or something. So that's the second out of the inning. But the damage was done, and that Dolphins scored 2, and they're tied up. And now Andrew Hart stands in. So I'm assuming that Parker White was caught off base, and he just kind of gave up and ran on the infield. But in the meantime, they scored, and here comes Andrew Hart, and he lines the ball up the middle for a base hit. So the fastest runner on the Dolphins is on base. And that brings up Jack Wickham. Jack is grounded out to the shortstop, has walked, and struck out. Base path. He was out. Well, no, I think he was dead to rights, and he just walked off. Just took his helmet off. He knew he was out. He wanted to make sure the run was scored. So here we go. Wickham up, and he grounds the ball to the third baseman, and the third baseman takes a stutter step and throws it over, and there is the third out of the inning. But the Dolphins do their damage. They came up with 2 runs. They probably could have won the game. I'm not sure if Parker White knew that was tying the game or winning the game, but he ran out of the base path, and that is literally the fourth out of this game that the Dolphins have ran themselves out of the inning. But they come up with 2, so we're going to play extras here. So Wickham grounds out to the third baseman for the third out, and we're going into the 8th inning here at Cape Henry, tied 5-5. So St. Chris had this game in their hands, and they let it slide out on literally a slide at home plate by Tanner Shadle. Tanner just rounded the bases, flying home on a hit by Parker White, and the St. Chris catcher tagged Reed Downs, but late. So Reed was called safe at home, and then Tanner Shadle literally slide in on the heels of Reed Downs for the tying run. The catcher never even saw him. And so the Dolphins scored 2 runs in about 1.3 seconds to tie this ball game up. Really good base awareness, and quite honestly, probably not the best play, but the Dolphins have been running the bases in a, I'll be kind here, haphazardly way all night. And that time it paid off, and paid off in a big way. So we're going to play extras here. Tanner Shadle is going to come out, and he's going to pitch the 8th inning, and he's asking for something over at the bench there. Not quite sure. He's talking to his coach, and I'm not sure if he's not hurt from that slide. No, it looks like he's asking for something, maybe some tape. Looks to me like he's asking them to tape up his hand. I can't see if it's his right or his left hand. If it's his right hand, the pitching hand, that's going to be an issue. It does look like they're working on his right arm or his right hand. And maybe when Tanner was sliding with that tying run, he slid in and got hurt. He's not coming out of this game, so. And I can't really see if there's any tape on his hand. But in any event, he's out there to pitch the 8th, and we have extra baseballs, and he just threw one to the backstop. Just in case you were concerned, he airmails that warm-up pitch over Cooper Angley, and let's see what he's got here. And he is just throwing off speed, and just throwing them in the dirt, over the head, and every which way but straight. And I'm sure St. Chris is watching this. And there's a fastball right down the middle for that one. So probably St. Chris is going to get a big dose of fastballs here in the 8th inning of extra baseball. Cape Henry ties it on a phenomenal play. So All right, so here we go. Leading off will be Charlie Knighton for St. Chris, the left fielder. He walked, reached on an error, and struck out his last time up, and he flies out to the right side of the field for strike one. Knighton will be followed by Bryce Neely and Willie Hurt. And there's another foul ball. And as said, Tanner is throwing nothing but heat here in the eighth. And there's an off-speed pitch that was probably strike three, and home plate umpire Mark said, nope, extra baseball means extra balls. And that's ball one. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And there's a ground ball that Tanner snags nicely. I mean, just a beautiful play by a pitcher who has to make those plays on a fairly regular basis, but that ball was hit really hard up the middle, and Tanner got his glove over and made a nice play for the 1-3 out there. So first out of the inning, out one. Bryce Neely, the center fielder, comes up. Bryce walked and scored, struck out looking, and then flied out to the center fielder his last time up. So Bryce is 0 for 2, but he has a run scored. Takes an off-speed pitch outside, ball one. Willie Hurt is on deck, and Henry Knighton is in the hole. And there's a foul ball to the right side for strike one. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Dolphin faithful a little more energized now. In this extra inning game, Tanner throws an off-speed pitch for ball 2. So 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out, 5-5 ball game. We're playing in the 8th inning here at Cape Henry Collegiate, extra baseball. And there's a ball on the outside corner for ball 3. So Tanner looking a little bit shaken up on the mound there. Did not get 2 calls this inning, and last thing he needs to do is walk this batter. And he throws it down the middle, but high for ball 4. So after getting the first out and a nice play, Tanner walks the second batter of the inning. And so that'll bring up Willie Hurt. Willie was hit by a pitch and scored, struck out, and reached on another walk. So he's 0 for 1. And so St. Chris has a runner on, 1 out here in the 8th. And there's a foul ball back, strike 1. Ball high. So last inning, it appeared the home plate umpire was a little more liberal and generous, and now going into extra innings, looks like he's closed the strike zone down a little bit. So home plate umpire Mark changing the strike zone a little bit here. And again, as long as it's on both sides, you don't care. Stinks if you're a pitcher. You go out, throw in 1 inning, you get 1 call, and you come out the next inning and you get a different call. But again, if he's consistent for both teams, that's all that can be asked of umpires in this very fallible ball game. Runner on, 1 out, 8th inning. There's a ball in the dirt. Angley makes a nice play there to keep the runner from advancing. So 2 balls, 2 strikes on Willie Hurt. Willie is now at shortstop. He started the game in right field. And he sends a high fly ball, and that's going to be the center fielder, Andrew Hart's ball, and he makes the play, and that's out number 2 in the inning. So F8 for Willie Hart, and that brings up Henry Knighton. Runner still on first. Knighton doubled in the first inning, and he had the big hit that got 3 runs in. Then he flied out to the right fielder and flied out to the right fielder. So Henry had a big hit in the first inning and hasn't done anything the last 2, and we'll see what he can do here in extras and 8. And they're going, and Angley throws it And they, oh. So Neely steals second. He was out. Angley threw a beautiful ball down to second, and the shortstop, Yoon, had the ball in his glove and had the tag, and the ball pops out of his glove at the last second for Neely to be safe at second. So runner in scoring position, and here's a foul ball for strike two. So runner in scoring position, a gamble there by St. Chris to send him. It paid off. We'll see. And they do get the call strike on an inside curveball. And boy, everybody was waiting, and umpire Mark standing like a bride at the altar, waiting, and finally said, "I do." And there's the strikeout that we needed. So St. Chris does get a base runner on a walk in that inning, but does not get him home. And that'll bring up the Dolphins in the eighth inning with a chance to win this game after tying it in the last inning. And they'll have, well, we're not sure who they're going to have up because they've had Nate Jensen, Ryan Hummel, Balin Newcomb, and Turner Cool in this position, in this one batting position. So they've had four players. So we don't know who they're sending out, and no one's on deck right now. So as soon as that person gets out, I'll let you know. But whoever it is, Cooper Angley will follow, and then Chris Martinez, the second baseman, will be the third hitter of the inning, and then we go back to the top of the order. So somebody's coming up, and the Dolphins have a chance to win this game, which I have not been able to say all day. And I believe it is going to be, is that Garrison Hurt? Garrison White? And it does look like it'll be Garrison White. Garrison came in to play right field, so Garrison White will lead off. Garrison's number 11, and he will lead off here in the eighth inning of a tied 5-5 ball game between St. Chris Saints and the Cape Henry Dolphins. And Garrison takes low, ball one. Garrison not having a great year offensively under the Mendoza line, and he takes ball two. But his job is to do one thing, get on base if he can. And Bradley Garner is out for his third inning, and he walks off, and he has said something, and now the home plate umpire is asking him questions, and he's warning the on-base person, and that's Cooper Angley. So there's a surprise. Cooper getting in on it with the pitcher, and now the other coach for St. Chris is going to come out and talk to his pitcher and just kind of calm him down. This is no time for the pitcher in a playoff game to get rattled by the on-deck hitter when you're in the eighth inning of a tied 5-5 ball game. So home plate umpire Mark came out, said something to both the on-deck hitter and the pitcher. Now the coach comes out, and he's actually going to make a change. And so he's going to pull Garner after a 2-0 count, and he's going to put in number 25, Willie Hurt, who was the right fielder and now is going to be, oh, here we go again. Hold on, folks. 25, 10, 2. Everybody's going back to the dugouts to get different gloves. Boy, you know, when I was a kid, I had one glove. I played pitcher, shortstop, outfielder. We only had 3 gloves on the team: catcher's mitt, first baseman's mitt, and everybody else's mitt. And now it looks like they've got a glove for every occasion. I'm playing first, new glove. I'm playing short, new glove. I'm playing. All right, well, here we go. Number 6 is now at second, and that's Jack Dem, who was at third, so he's now at second. The former pitcher, number 10, is going to go to, I don't know where he's going, but the pitcher, Bradley Garner, who was who was pitching, is now at short. The new pitcher is number 7, Wally Jones, who was the first baseman. Looks like Knighton, Knighton, the original pitcher, is now at first. The outfield is still, the outfield is now Willie Hurt, who was short, is now back in right field. Jacob Gray is still in left field. He moved from right to left. And, the center fielder, Bryce Neely, hasn't changed. So, I love this sport. So now Wally Jones, the first baseman, will pitch. He's got Garrison White with a 2-0 count. St. Chris's coach came out, talked to his pitcher, who was rattled by Cooper Angley, the on-deck batter, and promptly took him out of the game and moved him to short. We'll see how that plays out. But in the meantime, we've got a baseball game to play, and we're going to play it. So here we go. And there's a ball inside for ball 3. So the most important thing to Garrison White is I've got 3 balls and no strikes, and I got to find my way onto first base. And he does not do that by taking a strike on the outside for strike 1. So 3 balls, 1 strike, 5-5 here in the 8th. And that ball's right down the middle for strike 2. So full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes to Garrison. And this time he does ground it right up the middle, but a beautiful play by the pitcher, just like Tanner Shadle made one. This time it is the pitcher, the new pitcher, Wally Jones, who was the first baseman, and he gets the first out of the inning on a 1-3 ground ball. So that brings up Cooper Angley, and Cooper takes outside, ball 1. So what has Cooper done in this game? Cooper has singled, and singled. Cooper is 3 for 3. And 4 for 4 would be very nice at this point. And he does line it into left field for another base hit. So Angley does his job, and boy, Cooper's 4 for 4 in this game. And you can't fault him offensively. And so the Dolphins do get their first base runner on board. We'll see if they keep him in or pitch run for him. I guess they can as the catcher. And so that'll bring up the freshman, Chris Martinez. And I told Chris I wouldn't call him a freshman anymore, but I just did, and that maybe will bring him luck. And he does ground the ball past the third baseman for a hit. Oh, and Angley is going to try to go to third, and he does, and he will stay at third. And so the Dolphins are just killing themselves and killing it on the base pass. And so Chris Martinez gets a base hit past the third baseman. Cooper Angley runs through second all the way to third, was dead out, and the ball skids by the third baseman, so he reaches there on an error, and now we have runners on second and third with 1 out, and all Yoon Chi has to do is hit the ball somewhere out of the infield, and this ball game is probably over. So Cooper Angley goes 4 for 4 and gets to third base and should have been thrown out, and instead they're going to walk Yoon on a no play, and that is going to bring up Reed Downs. And Reed is being called back. And so the Dolphins have the bases loaded, which is a good play by St. Chris. They have to load the bases so they can get a force any bag. There is one out here in the eighth inning, and the winning run is 90 feet away. And the Dolphins coach is talking to Reed Downs, and I'm sure telling him, make it a strike, make sure you hit the ball somewhere hard and out of the infield, and this ball game is over. And Reed has singled, grounded out to the second baseman, flied out to the right fielder, and walked and scored his last time up. So number 7, Willie Jones, is on the mound. And there's a contingent of Dolphin fans behind home plate clapping and doing their best to disrupt the pitcher. And we'll see how that works. And there's strike one right down the middle, and Downs swings and misses for strike one. Bases loaded, one out here in the eighth, tie ball game 5-5. Cooper Angley 90 feet away from scoring the winning run in this ball game. And they go to third. No balls, one strike. And Reed grounds the ball, but it's foul for strike two. Boy, this baseball game has had a little bit of everything, I'll tell you what. It's been a pleasure being here, seeing this live and calling it for you at home. And Downs takes high and outside, ball one. So 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cape Henry came back with 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and 2 in the seventh. And here's ball way outside, ball 2. So 2 balls, 2 strikes. Obviously, there's nowhere for Wally Jones to put this batter. So he's got to go at Reed here. And here comes the 2-2 pitch. And Downs grounds it back to the pitcher, who goes to home for 1. And a double play, and they're out of it. So the Cape Henry Dolphins have done everything in this game but win it. Reed Downs grounds the ball back up to the pitcher, who makes a beautiful play to the catcher, Joseph Connor. Connor throws it down to the first baseman, and they double up the Dolphins, and they do not allow the Dolphins to score. So Downs goes 1, 2, 3, double play. And that's something you just don't see very often. 1, 2, 3, double play. But we did, and they did, and we are going into the 9th inning. So we will play a regulation baseball game here at Cape Henry Collegiate and see if we can get a winner out of this game. And while we started early and thought, hey, this might work out, it is now 6 o'clock, and we've got at least one more inning to go. Skies are bright behind me. Tanner Shadle back on the mound. And we have a new right fielder for the Dolphins. And it looks like it is Hawley. And right, we'll check that in a minute. In the meantime, St. Chris is going to send up Wally Jones, the pitcher, who made that great play in the last half of the inning, starting it out. Then they'll send up Jack Dem, who's now playing third, and then Jacob Gray. So Wally Jones comes up. He's got a hit, a fly out to right, and a strikeout. And Shadle throws a fastball, strike one. Boy, I'm going to have to go home and watch this game again myself to just believe all the plays that have happened here. Foul ball. We've had incredibly good defensive plays. We've had incredibly boneheaded running. We've had some errors. We've had timely walks and strikeouts. We've had everything in this ball game. And here's a high swinging foul ball. Wally Jones not getting cheated. Pretty much swinging at anything coming up there. And almost gets hit on a slow curveball by Tanner Shadle. 1 ball, 2 strikes, no outs here in the 9th inning. And there's a swinging strike, and he was tagged out by Cooper Angley for out number 1. So we have a little bit of controversy here. Angley said he tagged the runner, and I believe the home plate umpire did call him out. The runner stopped running, and the Cape Henry Collegiate Dolphins threw the ball around. They did make the play at first base. I believe he was called out anyway. And he is out. He didn't think he was tagged. Everybody else in the stadium did, including the umpires, and now he takes that walk of shame back to the dugout for out number 1. And here's a line shot to right, and that's going to get over the head of Hawley. Makes the play, and he'll get the ball into second, and he makes a nice throw, but not in time, and there's a double. And so the Dolphins put in Hawley in right field, and the ball immediately goes over his head for a double. And so Jack Dem doubles on a ball to right, and that'll bring up Jacob Gray, the left fielder. So runner in scoring position by St. Chris. And there's a ball high to Gray. So Jacob base hit and scored in the 2nd inning, flied out to the shortstop and grounded out to the second baseman. And now coach is going to come out and talk to the Dolphins. Runner on second, 1 out here in the 9th. 5-5 ball game. Actually, that is, I said it was Owen Hawley, but I believe it is 25, Copeland Smith. In right field. There's a nice pitch right down the middle for a strike. Yeah, that's Copeland Smith in right field now for the Dolphins. There's a foul ball down the right side. Copeland Smith is the 6th player in that position in the batting order. Yep, that's been that kind of game. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the 9th. St. Chris threatening with the leading run, and there's a ball that gets by the first baseman, and that is a base hit. And so Jacob Gray comes up with a base hit past the diving Parker White at first, and now the St. Chris Saints have runners at first and third with 1 out, and they are at the top of the order with Brady Garner who was the shortstop, then was a pitcher, then went back to shortstop. He struck out looking, reached on an error, flied out, and struck out again. So Brady Garner, this would be a good time for a ground ball to short to get a double play on the Dolphins side. And he takes low ball one. And he fouls that one back, strike one. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out here in the 9th inning. Runners on the corners for St. Christopher Saints in a tied game here in this playoff game for the state's VISAA Division I title. Oh, there's a beautiful pitch down the middle. Strike two. Tanner Shadle has been pitching for the Dolphins the last 3 innings. He came in on the 7th. Got a 1-2-3 inning. 4 down, 4 up, and 3 outs in the 8th, and now he's trying to get out of a jam here in the 9th. The Dolphins have not played good baseball today. It's pretty evident. And there's a swinging strike. Blew it by him for strike 3, and that was a big strikeout. And now the catcher, Joseph Connor, comes up, and he was part of the most bizarre play in the 7th where he tagged Reed Downs late on a slide at home and then didn't see Tanner Shadle with the tying run on his heels and didn't even tag him for the tying run. Well, now he comes up with runners on first and third in the 9th inning and can put his team up by at least 1. He's walked, flied out, and grounded out to the shortstop the last 2 times, and he takes strike 1 down the middle. No, he takes ball 1 down the middle. Yeah, that's what I said. Ball 1 right down the middle. And there's a line but foul ball to the right side. 1 ball, 1 strike. And there's a ground ball, and again, it's to the shortstop. And this time he has to make the play because Chris Martinez wasn't covering. But Yoon makes the play, the shortstop. I'm not sure what Martinez was thinking there, the second baseman, but he did not cover second. And Yoon had to go all the way over to first, but had plenty of time, and so a 6-3 out for the 3rd out. And there's the senior with experience, the shortstop, who other shortstop might have freaked out thinking they had an easy flip at second and choked the throw to first, but Yoon made a beautiful play and got the 3rd out. So St. Chris threatened there, just like the Dolphins did with the bases loaded in the last inning, and St. Chris had first and third but could not score the run. And so now the Dolphins will come up in the bottom half of the 9th on their turn to try and win it, and they'll start off with Tanner Shadle, Parker White, and Andrew Hart. So the 3-4-5 hitter for the Dolphins, and all they need to do is sneak one across to win this game in 9 innings. And if they do, it might be their best and worst win of the season, maybe in 3 seasons. I'm not sure they'll even watch this game on YouTube after it's over. CHC TV, YouTube, is where we park all of our broadcasts for eternity. And so one of these teams is probably going to watch it again, and another team will never watch it. And actually, if the Dolphins do win this game, they might not watch it, as I mentioned, because this has just been ugly. Oh! And the the center fielder just threw the ball in to someone who was supposed to catch it and almost got drilled in the head. When you go to commercials during major league games, you don't often see some of the better plays, and that might have been one of the interesting ones. But anyway, we're here, we're online, and we're about to win this ball game. And so we're going to start with Tanner Shadle up in the ninth inning, and he's facing number 7, Jones again, and he takes it down the middle for strike 1. So Wally Jones came in the last inning in relief, and now he's back here for the ninth, and there's Shadle, and he drives the ball, and the third baseman makes some kind of play there. He literally threw his glove out, and it was Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, out 1. That's a 5-3, and who's that third now? I guess it's Dem again. Yeah. I hope we caught that. Did we catch that on the camera? Did we? Wow. Because that was some play by the third baseman over there. Anywho, and that's number 2. So that's Charlie Knighton, who was in left field last inning, and now he's at third base and just makes a great play for out number 1. That brings up Parker White, and he takes outside, ball 1. They are changing positions here. Like you change diapers on a newborn. Fast and frequently. And Parker fouls that one, and that was right down the middle, and Boyd Parker wants to have that pitch back. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out here in the ninth. That ball is outside. 2 balls, 1 strike. And boy, this crowd got quiet. Almost like they can't believe what they're watching. And there's Parker White, and he fouls that one back. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. And boy, would this be a great time for Parker White to park one in the parking lot. And he's the guy that can do it. And this would just erupt this baseball field. And there's ball way high, ball 3. I don't think they're going to give Parker much to hit here. They would not be sane if they throw one down and in to this guy who could just crank it. And they don't, and Parker does not put a good swing on it. It was a strike. Parker did not get a good piece of that one and fouls it back, so he's still alive. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the ninth. Tie ball game 5-5. St. Chris Saints against the Cape Henry Dolphins. And that ball is way outside. I mean, like, way outside. So Parker goes down with a base on balls. And we've got a conference at the mound, pitcher-catcher. We've got Andrew Hart up at bat. We've already seen Parker White make some base-running follies of his own in this game, and he's at first base with a winning run and 1 out, and Andrew Hart on base. And Andrew, we know, is speedy, so anything that's on the ground is going to have to go quick. And there's strike 1 on the inside corner. Might have been a ball last inning, but it's a strike this inning. So Hart down 1 strike, and he swings through that off-speed changeup for strike 2. So Andrew's down 2. He struck out in the first, was hit by a pitch, flied out to the shortstop, and singled his last time up. So Andrew's done a little bit of everything in this game. And this time he does foul it off, but off his shin for still strike 2. So no balls, 2 strikes, 1 out here in the ninth. Dolphins looking to do something. And there's a pass ball, and Parker White is going to go down to second, and he gets there. So Parker saw the ball, got away from the catcher, and took off immediately. And again, not known for speed, but he got down there on a pass ball. And so he's in scoring position now. And Andrew Hart needs to put the ball somewhere out of the infield. I don't think they'll send Parker White, but boy, the way base running has gone in this game, he might go on a foul ball and score. Who knows? And Andrew does ground the ball, but right at the third baseman, who throws it over, and oh! They did call Hart out at first, and boy, that ball just beat him. So Andrew grounds out to the third baseman, 5-3 for the second out of the inning. And that would be field umpire Mike made that call. I think when you look at the replay, he did get out. He did get him by just a half a step. So again, third baseman, second nice play of the inning that he's made, and that's Knighton and number 2. And so here we go. Jack Wickham up, takes ball 1, winning run at second base, 2 outs here in the ninth. Wickham is grounded out, walked, struck out, and grounded out again. So Jack 0 for 4 in this game. Sorry, 0 for 3 with a walk. This would be a good time for him to put the ball somewhere. Oh, and almost gets hit. Ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. And I think it's the 8th grader Copeland Smith on deck, and they are going to walk Wickham. And so they're going to put runners on first and second. They're going to walk Wickham, and that is going to bring up, I believe, and it should be, the 6th person in this batting order position, Copeland Smith. And Copeland is the right fielder, and that ball went over his head, and he got the ball in nicely in that last inning, but well, let's see if that is Copeland Smith. So runners on first and second, and there's a strike down the middle. Oh, 24. So that's Owen Hawley is now up to bat. And he's down 2 strikes, 2 outs. So Owen Hawley is the batter. Runners on first and second. And he grounds one up the middle to the shortstop, and he makes the play over to first for the 3rd out. So the Dolphins can't do anything, and we're going to play 10 innings. 6-3 for the 3rd out here. So the Dolphins will go to the 10 innings. Not sure who they have left to pitch. Not sure who's left in the game. But Copeland Smith is out, and Owen Hawley is now in at that position, number 24. So, and it does look like Tanner Shadle is going to come out for another inning of work. So we're going to play 10 innings in this crazy ball game. Yeah. And we do have another. Trying to see, and we do. have, well, we need a right fielder. The Dolphins are not going to play with 8 batters, I would hope. Or, excuse me, eight defensive players. And so they need a right fielder, and it looks like it's going to be. And here he comes. And that is number 32. And number 32 is Connor Purnell, the senior. So Connor now comes out to right field, and he's going to switch with Reed Downs. So the right and left fielder are going to switch. Interesting that they're putting their better outfielder in right, but they are. And so, okay, so Connor Purnell is now playing left. And anyway, we're back to the game, and Charlie Knighton, the third baseman who had two great plays in that last inning, he's up at bat, and he takes ball 1 and ball 2, both high. So we're in the 10th inning, and there's ball inside 3 of a VISAA state regional playoff game between the Cape Henry Dolphins and the St. Chris Saints. And this game was 5-0. Then it was 5-2, 5-3, and then 5-5 in the 7th, and we've been knotted up since the 7th. And there's a high fly ball, and Reed Downs, and boy, there's good coaching, because Downs was the left fielder, and he moved him over to right, and he made that play. Connor would have made that play too, of course. That was a nice, lazy fly ball out number 1. And now that'll bring up Bryce Neely. Neely has walked and scored, struck out, flied out to center, and walked his last time up, and he takes strike 1. Tanner Shadle will probably pitch until his arm falls off. And there's ball high. Not sure who the Dolphins have left to pitch anyway. I'm not sure who they have left in the dugout. And there's a fly foul ball for strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We're in the 10th. 5-5 game. Cape Henry scoreboard goes up to 7 innings. We might lap it. And there is a fly ball, and it looks like first baseman Parker White is there, and he makes the catch for the second out of the inning. Just as that ball went up in the air, so did the wind, and moved Parker around a little bit, but the fleet-footed first baseman got there, and that's the second out, and that brings up number 25, Willie Hurt, the shortstop. Well, no, Willie's not the shortstop now because Garner's the shortstop. Willie Hurt is in the outfield. I think he's in left. Doesn't matter. He's up to bat right now, and he's got a 2-ball and no strike count on him with 2 outs here in the 10th. Willie needs to get on and move over. He takes strike right down the middle. If the Dolphins get out of this inning, they'll have Angley, Chris Martinez, and somebody up. There's ball up. 3 balls, 1 strike. Tanner Shadle's got to be tired. He's played this whole game, multiple positions, but he throws a strike there. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And there's a swinging strikeout for Tanner there. That's a big strikeout there. So 1-2-3 for St. Chris again. And I got to tell you, looking at this scorebook, it is not pretty. But 4 runs in the first, 1 run in the second for St. Chris, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros after that. Talk about living off your past. We'll see if they can get through the 10th. Again, the Dolphins are going to send up Angley, Martinez, and somebody. We've had 7 players in that position, but it'll be somebody. Well, actually, we're going to go back to the top of the order. So Angley, Martinez, and Yoon Chi will come up. So 8-9-1 hitter. Need a run. Charlie Knighton is at third. Brady Garner at short. Jack Dem is now at second. Again, Knightley is over at first. Or Knighton, sorry, Henry. Pitching is still number 7, Wally Jones. I got to hand it to St. Chris, boy. They have hung in, and they have weathered a lot of things, mostly bad base running on the Dolphins' part, but they've hung in tough, and they're playing in the 10th inning of the defending state champions here at Cape Henry. So hats off to St. Chris, regardless of how this goes. And there's ball low. So Cooper comes up with ball 1. There's a strike. Cooper happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4 in this game. And he lines one, but just foul on the left side. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ball way outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Cooper. We're in the 10th inning, bottom of the 10th, tied of a 5-5 game between St. Chris and Cape Henry Collegiate. And there's a ground ball to the third. Nope, it's in the hole, and that's going to be a base hit. And Cooper's going to stop at first, and there's the first decent base running move that the Dolphins have had all day. So Coop gets on and smartly stays at first. We'll give him a hit. That would have been a tough play there. Cooper is 5 for 5 today with 5 singles. Have a day, boy. Have a day. And that brings up Martinez, and the freshman, sorry, Chris, comes up, and he base hit last time up. So we got a runner at first, and he squares to bunt and does, but bunts it foul for strike 1. So Chris squares to bunt on a low inside pitch, drops it down, but it goes foul. St. Chris has their infield at bunt depth. Third base and first base are up. Shortstop and second base playing back. Martinez shows bunt again, and they throw over to first and almost gets by Knighton, the first baseman. Makes a nice play on the throw over by the pitcher. Henry Knighton made a nice play there, or Cooper's on second, maybe third, and who knows after that. But no balls, 1 strike, and and it hits him. So Chris Martinez gets hit by that pitch. He definitely tried to get out of the way, and he gets hit. And so now the base runners are on first and second. And that's going to bring up Yoon Chi and the senior will come up with no outs and runners on first and second. And I'm not going to say it because I'm going to jinx them. So my crew is looking at me like, keep your mouth shut, Souther. And for once, I'm listening to them. So here we go. Runners on first and second. No outs. 10th inning. Senior shortstop is up to bat. And he looks to bunt, and instead, the third baseman flies in from third and leaves third wide open, and Cooper Angley runs over and steals it. And it's called a ball, so without doing anything, Angley is now 90 feet away with no outs and a pass. Well, I'm not going to say it. Runners on first and third. They're going to walk Yoon here to load the bases, and you got to do that as well. So that's an intentional walk here to get the force out at home, and it worked for them the last time, for St. Chris the last time. They got that double play, a 1-2-3 double play, and in this time, Reed Downs, and look at how fate goes. Reed Downs is up again, who hit into that 1-2-3 double play the last time. And here he comes, and boy, the baseball gods are just laughing. So all Reed's got to do is put it somewhere, and 90 feet away is Cooper Angley, and we'll see what happens. And he takes it down the middle for strike one. You can't make this stuff up. And if I wasn't here and wasn't watching, I wouldn't believe it, but I am. And so Reed Downs has a chance to redeem himself. And he takes it high outside, ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike. 5-5 game. St. Chris has just done everything they possibly can. Their pitcher's got to be a little tired, but they've done strategically what they needed to do. They've loaded up the bases, so here we go. Downs fouls that ball off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. I think at this point, a bunt, well, not now with 2 strikes, but. And here we go. Let's play this out. Thanks for a wonderful day of baseball, by the way. Ball outside. This really has been a most entertaining game to call for you guys and to watch and to be here. And the crowd's into it. The sun is out. The wind has died down. The pitcher, Jones, steps off. He looks into the catcher, Connor, and they're trying to find out, what do I got to throw here? And they do. And Reed lines one up, and that is going to be at the center fielder. And here comes Angley, and here comes the throw. And Angley will score and win this game, and Reed Downs does his job. A fly tag win for the Dolphins. Reed Downs comes up with a sacrifice fly, and that's what we're going to call it, to 8. And that scores Cooper Angley, who just crushed it at the plate. A 5-for-5 day, and appropriate that Cooper would score the game winner. And we're going to focus on both teams here shaking because, boy, this has been some ball game. 10 innings. These teams know each other like the back of their hands, and they play each other every year. And, boy, what a game. What a game. Cape Henry came back, wins this one 6-5. Again, has everything in it, and just a spectacular game. St. Chris, thank you so much for entertaining us with a great game. Safe trip home to Richmond. Good luck next season on your quest. To our umpires, Mark behind the plate, I gave you a little bit of grief, but you called a great game. You're very consistent, except for those 5 innings in between the first and the 5th. Mike and Rodney in the field, you guys get home safe as well. Have a wonderful evening. Everybody here at Cape Henry Collegiate, I want to thank you for joining us on this broadcast, and we're on to the next round. So our next game is Friday night. It will not be here at Cape Henry. So they do go a perfect 17-0 at home in this campaign. And congratulations to the coaching staff and the Cape Henry Dolphins for a win. It wasn't pretty, but when you are the state champions, you do that. So congratulations to the Cape Henry Dolphins. They're moving on, and we'll see you on the next round.
Never in doubt, Mr. Souther. Never in doubt.
Thank you, Mr. Angley. Never in doubt. I'm Chris Souther, joined by Wyatt, Linda, RJ, and Cameron. And we'll thank you and see you next time. We're out.